Welcome everyone to the book launch of Every Man, Woman, and Child and Every Living Soul by Merrill Collins and myself, Kristen Caven, and also dedication to the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I'm Kristen Caven, your host, and I am sorry that we won't be joined by my co-author and composer, Merrill Collins, whose entire family has COVID except for one baby, and she's taking care of the baby today. So she sends her best wishes and greetings, and you will be meeting her virtually and meeting her spiritually as well, because her music is incredible, and you've just been listening to a little bit. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge what today means. 75 is a significant number in anniversaries. It's your diamond anniversary. And in terms of birthdays, it's your diamond jubilee. So I wore some diamonds. I mean, diamonds, because there's human rights issues around diamonds with capital T. So I just love my rhinestones, and the idea of drawing light to something, the idea of catching light, the idea of fire in the heart of a very, very hard stone, something that's so hard that it can cut every other stone. And to me, that's what this document represents. So I'm going to have I have a special guest who is going to introduce this document. And Elizabeth, I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. I am a part of Human Rights Educators USA, which seeks to promote human rights education in the U.S. I'm also an undergraduate student at Boston College, and within Human Rights Education USA, I am the vice chair of the executive committee. So I'm going to be giving a little introduction about what the UDHR is, its history, and then also what it means for everything today. So originally the UDHR was forged in the aftermath of World War II in 1948, and it was a response to the horrors of the conflict. It drew from an array of legal traditions and philosophical principles, and it was seeking to establish a common standard for the protection of human rights globally. It was officially adopted on December 10th, 1948 by the UN General Assembly. So that makes today, as Kristen said, the 75th anniversary. When it was adopted, it created 30 different articles for all human beings, including the right to life, freedom from discrimination, freedom from torture, freedom of thought. And over the decades, it's really become the cornerstone of human rights law globally. It's laid the foundation and the groundwork for many different treaties, and beyond the legal implications of it, it has really left a remarkable impact on various social political movements, children's rights, indigenous rights, the fight against apartheid, advancements in gender equality, just to name a few of them. But even now, we face contemporary challenges, one of them being climate change, and the right to life takes on new dimensions as we grapple with the emergence of climate migrants and the pressing issue of climate justice. And with the 75th anniversary, the world is facing many new challenges that I'm sure those in 1940 would probably have likely never imagined. That being said, amidst these evolving global challenges, the principles of the UDHR are still persistent in everything. They serve as a moral compass that guides our collective effort towards justice, equality, and human dignity, which are some of its core foundations. So with that, I think also educators and performers and writers have a great responsibility and ability to instill in the hearts and minds of others the principles of the UDHR. It's not just about sharing the principles, but it's also about fostering an awareness and fostering a generation that can understand the value of equality, freedom, and justice. So through human rights education and performances, there's a great ability to empower listeners, readers, students, anyone really, to be informed global citizens capable of challenging the issues that the world faces now, such as prejudice, discrimination, and this can all help create a more inclusive and harmonious world. So thank you all. It's such an honor to get to spend the anniversary with you all, and I'm really excited to hear more about the book and the music and everything from you all. So thank you.
I find it so interesting that that often when we think of human rights, we think in terms of what's being violated, of what people don't have. But the fact that we have, that we have rights, that we enjoy rights, and that we flourish when we have our rights met, when we have our needs met and our rights met, and we fail when we don't. So, so yeah, this is really important work in education. So, Elizabeth, you're also the host or the editor or the producer of a podcast about human rights education. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. So Human Rights Education, we launched a podcast last year about it's called Human Rights Education Now with an exclamation point. And it essentially features interviews and different conversations with scholars, activists, teachers, really anyone involved in the movement in advancing human rights learning. So the general mission is to increase awareness and understanding about human rights education, specifically in the US. And this spans from like K through university education. We've had some interviews with human rights activists and like ranging from like Amnesty International, and we just did an episode with high school students who are currently in a human rights class and getting their perspective on what human rights means to them and also what it means for the future. We've made some really amazing progress. We just recently reached 600 downloads a couple of days ago now, which is really exciting. We've also reached six continents, 173 cities and 52 countries, which none of us really expected, to be quite honest. There's a platform called Buzzsprout, but from that you can find the Spotify link. There's really anything that you might listen to a podcast on. There's Deezer, Apple Music. You can also listen to it on our website.
There's so many educators, so many people teaching human rights in different ways, all with this document at their core. And I think the amazing thing is that this document has also been translated. It's the most widely translated document in the world. I just checked the website and it's up to 516 languages. I don't know how many human languages there are, but what an incredible concept to think that that human rights are just common to everybody, no matter what language you speak, no matter where in the world, and how wide the world is, how big the world is, how many different cultures with many different ideas can share can get a spark of this, this solid idea. And I hope everybody brought your champagne, or I'm going to be toasting with kombucha or tea, but it definitely deserves a celebration. And I think maybe what I'll do is I'll start playing the song, and we can have a moment of silence while we're listening to this song. And just a moment of reflection, and then I will tell you the significance of what we're listening to.
Thank you.
What did you think of that? What did you hear? How did you feel?
I just felt very warm and lovely, included, and wanted the same for everyone.
Thank you, Christina. This I love it's a round, it's a layered round, and it was all a cappella. That was all human voices. And this song is the chant. This song won the Peace Music Award in 2017. So there's a lot of music now about peace. Since the 60s, there's been a lot of music about peace. I would now like to introduce you to Every Man, Woman, and Child, the song. And here's the book reveal. Ready? You want to see it?
Yes, let's see it.
Ta-da! Here's the book.
Beautiful.
Ta-da! So this is Every Man, Woman, and Child is a song that was written by Merrill Collins when she was the mother of a preschooler. And she was a composer, an incredible composer. And I should introduce Merrill to you. I have a video interview that she did during COVID from the Human Rights Educators USA. Well, let's hear her say a few words.
Every man, woman, and child. I first was introduced to human rights in 1983 by Dr. Carl Schmidhausler, who contacted me. He said, "Do you have any human rights music? I'm having a human rights festival." I said, "No, I have other stuff. Why don't you come over to my house and we'll look at what I have and you can tell me what you're looking for." And at that time, I had never heard of human rights, the UDHR in particular. So I was 33 years old, and it was shocking to me that I had never been taught this in growing up and going to school. And so when I worked on the song, I worked on, it's not easy to set 30 articles to music. They're very wordy and, et cetera. So somehow I got involved with Elsa Stamatopoulos Robbins in creating a paraphrase chart so that it could more easily be taught and that they could more easily be spoken during the bridge of the song. So rather than actually put the articles as lyrics to the composition, I wrote the composition, Every Man, Woman, and Child, with a bridge that can be short or long depending on how many articles are spoken, what age group, if it's paraphrases or they're having the whole articles, whatever it is. And first started performing it in 1986. And so a lot of my work happened in those years since 1986 through now. And a lot of these organizations sprang up later. And around 2003, I heard about a conference in New York about human rights education, and I flew from here to there to be present and talk about my work. And then I met Felisa Tibbetts and Nancy Flowers and learned about HREA. So that was just very wonderful for me to learn that I'm not the only person out there who cares about this stuff, you know. And so when I find out as I go along that there's other groups like yours, for me, that's wonderful, just very wonderful. And I appreciate your work.
She wrote this song, which you understand now is like a setting. Like if the UDHR is a jewel, she wrote the setting for the jewel, where it's the first iteration of this song was she wrote the lyrics and she taught it to preschoolers and children. She was doing a class called Social Awareness via the Arts that was so popular they had it at 6 YMCAs in Oakland. And keep in mind, this is a single mom on Piedmont Avenue, and she brought together a chorus of children from 4 or 5 schools right around Piedmont Avenue, taught them this song, and sat down with them and said, what do you think human rights are? What do you think human rights are? And so, like, from these little preschoolers to 6th graders, right? They all talked about what that meant to them, and they all came up with their list of human rights, children's rights, and what rights they thought other children should have. My role in this bigger story has been helping Merrill bring her ideas out for about 25 years, 25, 30 years. She first wrote this song 40 years ago. And it's finally come out as a real book with an ISBN number, and you can buy it in bookstores. And it's part of a series of musical projects about different world agreements. This one's the first one, and it's the biggest deal. And then this other one, We Declare, which came out last year, is about the global ethic, which teaches all of the principles that every world religion has in common. So although we can't have religious education in the school, we still need ethics education, so kids get their values straight. And the third one, Everybody's Everybody, is a play that this group of children wrote, and they performed it to raise money to send to children in Africa during the Ethiopian famine in the late 80s. And this one is based on the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is this other huge marker that came out of the UDHR, and it's really crucial. But what Merrill did with her kids, there's a picture here. She made a cassette of the music that the children created, and she sent it off to all these different peace groups that had inspired her and guided her teaching. And when the United Nations got it, they're like, this is fantastic. I'd come to the United Nations and sing this for the assembly. And so the Pathways to Peace chorus of these kids from Oakland, they sang it in New York. And it was a big deal. They came back and the mayor threw them a party. And so what Elsa said was, I've never seen anything like this. She's like, here it is finally, after all these years. It was for the 40th anniversary of the UDHR in 1988. She said it's finally reached the grassroots level. And so then Elsa, who's now become a huge leader in Indigenous rights, she said, let's work on integrating the rights of the children came up with the actual UDHR. And so she worked with Elsa to come up with these paraphrasings. That's why this book is significant, and this project is significant, because it is the original musical presentation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So I realized while I was writing, this introduction for her, just the incredible provenance of this project, and what it did was open a door for so many more. I believe this was actually the first paraphrasing, and there's a lot of them now. So this book, here's your little tour through the book. It has the lyrics in the beginning, which you heard sung as a round. It has a foreword by Kabir Sehgal, who is this amazing fearless music producer who's worked with John Lewis and Deepak Chopra, and did a lot of work around the building of the wall. an introduction by Merrill, a long essay by me that tells all of Merrill's story, a bunch of wonderful letters of exchange, not just from Elsa at the UN, but also from different churches who incorporated their song into their services. And then there's a how-to guide. The idea is you have this piece of music that you can express in many ways, and then you put the human rights in the middle of it. It's a whole document is in here. There's every page, the title and the text of the document, and then the paraphrases. So throughout the book, the workbook contains all sorts of guidance and advice for however you want to express it. And in the beginning, you can sing it, you can dance it, you can do yoga to it, you can do meditations, you can jam on it, you can play it with an orchestra. And the whole back of the book has got music for anybody who knows how to read music. And there's even a section in here for non-musicians, how to use it. As you can see, this work has been in progress for a very long time. Every 5 years, there was a performance, a new development. In 2018, she expanded the one song, and the scores that she had been passing around. And she did a whole bunch of recordings with different people. Now it's a collection, and that song that we were listening to before is a free download right here, and you can download the song and the score. And then all this other stuff is available, a lot of it for free. Here's the book, and if you want to do a dance party, I'm going to do one today. I've been doing it in my Zumba class, and people are really intrigued by it. You can do a dance party. There's a couple different tunes that are just great for dance music. There's a whole suite of songs that are just beautiful. I was playing when we first came in that were recorded by actual yoga teachers who are also musicians. And in the book, there's instructions on how to sequence your asanas and how to dedicate your practice to the articles of the human rights. This is a suite. It's a 5-part meditation that you can hear on Spotify. That's absolutely beautiful. It's great for meditation. And in the book, there's guidelines for 10 different types of meditation that all support the idea of human rights, from Tonglen to Ho'oponopono to just loving kindness meditations to guided visualizations. Did you know there were so many ways to meditate? There really are. And that's a way that we can just use our souls and our spirits to give energy to this vibration. And also, it's just great background listening. If anybody's ever doing a project that's working on human rights, the whole energy of the music will add to that. I just wanted to say something about that Merrill speaks about vibration, because she says it sounds really woo to talk about the vibration of things, but when you're a musician, you actually are literally working with vibrations, right? And so in my essay, I share her story about being a child during the Cold War, and the whole duck and cover and having to hide under your desk, and this whole idea of like being fearful and being, that so many people are still stuck in fear. And then when she heard about the idea of human rights from Dr. Schmidt-Hausler, she stood up straighter, and she's like, that's a vibration that makes you stand up. And so everything about this is vibrational, and we're bringing up the whole idea into of human rights into a whole consciousness that is one of greater peace. So all the scores are available online. I'll give you a look at that. If you know any musicians, these are great for religious organizations, for school at every level. There's a simple version of the song. There's the chant, which is what we heard just now, that can be done as a round, and pieces of it can be taken out. It can be done by any community that sings, all the way to the full orchestral score. And this is a very interesting thing. You notice there's 2 different names here. So one of the things Merrill did after all these other recordings, her next challenge was coming up with a full orchestral score. She hired an arranger, and they came up with this beautiful piece of music. And she had an arrangement to perform it at a high school. The students came to her and said, "We don't necessarily identify with being men, women, or children." It was a school that was very friendly to non-binary kids. They came to her and they said, "We want you to change the name of the song." And she came to me and she's like, "Okay, we're changing the name of the song," because she was so impressed by their advocacy and their reasoning that, that this transcends gender, and you deserve human rights no matter what gender you are. And that's like a really huge piece of the puzzle, because all throughout history we've been told that all men are created equal, but equality does not extend to non-men. And so that's been its own long journey, and we've come to this point where we need to be able to talk about things outside of gender. And so fortunately, there was a line in there called "Every Living Soul." And so she rewrote a version of it to be "Every Living Soul." So there is a non-gendered version of both the orchestra and the piano vocal score. I just want to show you guys a little bit of the premiere here.
I'd like to introduce "Every Living Soul." This is a world premiere with the SG&E Orchestra and the SG&E Concert Choir. And Merrill Collins, who's with us this evening, is the composer. Last year, after the baccalaureate mass, Merrill came to both Glennis and myself and said, "Hey, I've got a piece I'd love to have premiered." And we're saying, "Okay, get us the scores, we'll look at it." Okay. And we've had the plans in motion for over a year now, and it's been a real joy to work on a piece to this caliber, and to work on a piece where the composer can come to the rehearsals, can make detailed notes, and help us play and work on the expression the way she anticipates and wants it to be, from her soul, from her heart. And what's even better about our piece right now is it is for the human rights. We know we live in a very troubled world, and we here in the United States, we are so lucky to have so many rights, but a lot of the rest of the world just does not. So this is also a celebration. And Merrill, thank you for bringing this to us. And we have a special soloist, Miss Vanessa Van Troos.
So I'm going to fast forward and let you guys hear how this works in action. So they all play the song, they sing the song, and then they do the reading of the rights in the center. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. These students all chose to do it in different languages. This is the soloist. Okay, let's skip forward to the reading.
The right to remedy the violation of rights. We have the right to freedom from arbitrary arrest and exile. We have the right to fair public hearing.
Chúng tôi, một tuổi khi không có áp dụng thay đổi để cả an toàn.
We have the right to freedom from interference with privacy, family, home, and correspondence.
We have the right to free movement in and out of our own country.
This is something that I've actually used. I used it with fourth graders. We did it for a Martin Luther King Day assembly, and and they wrote the rights out on cards, and they brought them up, and they walked up with them, so they had visuals. And in the instruction, it talks about how to create visuals, for whatever you do, and actually have a long teaching process where you make it a multimedia presentation.
What has been the response of the students that have participated in either the orchestral or like your fourth graders after their experience doing it? What sort of response did they have?
Well, I can tell you about my fourth graders, that getting them, they were really excited to do the project and to get out of class and do the project. Now I was sort of teaching it, as a parent, doing a special thing with kids, and it's different. And maybe Elizabeth, you have more stories about what it's like to do in an actual educational setting, with teachers to do it. But the kids were so excited to get out of the class, and they all brought their issues with them, and they were really unruly and really obnoxious and rude. There were like, 2 in the class who were really interested in the idea, and they sort of held the center. And then there were the other ones in the class who were just glad to get out of class and have problems, which I think is very interesting, because most of the books that I write are about, or the other books that I have written, I can't say most, but I've written a lot of books about interactions with kids. One of the books is called The Winning Family, and that's about parent and child interactions, and how to have positive interactions in the family. And the other one is called The Bullying Antidote, which went into how people treat each other. And in that book, I should have a copy right here. I'll flash the cover there. In this book, I did talk about human rights, and about how human rights, in this song, it says, give us our human rights. And we usually think about governments giving us our human rights. But in the world of human interactions, rights are something we give to each other, like at the very basic boiled bottom line part. And the other thing that, so that's one thing that we had to work on in this class, was just listening to each other. And everybody has a right to speak, and everybody has a right to have their ideas heard and their voices heard, but no one has the right to take away those rights from other people. And when we had some dominating kids who were able to understand, that their actions were so important in this, it went much better. And then when it came to the point of actually doing the presentation, we had the whole class did the hand motions and sang along to the piano. And then we had this selected group who came out and held up the rights. They felt so proud. They felt so dignified by what they were teaching to their classmates and what they were bringing to the world. And it was really it was a pretty profound moment. And, bearing in mind that the Martin Luther King conference, Elizabeth, do you know about this, the MLK Oratorical Fest? I don't know if it exists everywhere in the world. It's huge here in Oakland, and I know different parts of the world they have it, but it's a speaking competition where kids perform, they come up with speeches, a lot of poems, or original stuff or whatever, and it goes to the state level, and I think the international level. But anytime you go to a performance of that, it's mind, it's moving and amazing. Have you heard stories, Elizabeth, of other experiences of human rights education? How it changes the participants?
Yeah, I think on a general level, I know something that's been talked about a lot recently is like the grade level and how that impacts. So for example, like kindergarten, it's a lot about instilling values of human rights, not necessarily like reading all of the articles to them and like having them try and understand that. But again, it boils down to like treating others the way you want to be treated, respecting everyone as your equal. I don't know if I'm trying to think of like specific stories off the top of my head, but I think that's something that is super important. I think it changes as you get older, but it starts it boils down to the very like foundation of what the UDHR is about, which is human dignity. So yeah.
Dignity. Always dignity. Thank you.
Hello, I'd like to say.
Hi, Louise.
Yes, you and Merrill have been working together for 30 years, did you say? For a long, long time. How did you ever meet each other?
How did we meet? Well, here, let me read you the first section of my story. It's kind of cute. I was pregnant and starting to show when I first met Merrill Collins. When she walked into the Copy Central's fancy new desktop publishing department, I thought, oh, you're the Merrill Collins? I thought she was someone famous. I felt like I'd heard her name before, but couldn't quite place her. Her Cyndi Lauper looks were magnetic. She's petite with edgy hair and a sing-song voice, but I soon learned she was just a single mom from my Oakland neighborhood, making a living as a musician, impressive enough, who needed a website. But as I began to work with Merrill, I began to grasp the magnitude of her spirit and the meaning of her path. She was incredibly famous. It's just that no one had ever heard of her yet. So she had already done the first form of this book, and she'd already sent it off. She'd had it bound in leather, understanding, I think, the significance of what she was doing. And she'd sent it off, and it was displayed in Geneva as an example of, of like the first grassroots musical human rights education. So and then they'd had and I think I had just arrived in Oakland when they'd come back, and she'd been on the news with her group, which is where I had heard of her. All right, so getting close to wrapping this up, I just wanted to know if everybody here has ever is familiar with with the 30 articles of the human rights. But I was wondering if anybody would like to make a toast to anyone in particular of the human rights. And I will go ahead and just share my screen, and you can see them scrolling across this page of ours. There's a lot of places to go to look for them, but I just happen to know that they're on this page, scrolling through all this page. All right, there they are.
Mine's one of the beginning ones. Oh, there it is. It's right to life, liberty, property, and personal security, or everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person. It's my personal favorite, so toast to that one.
Toast to that one.
I think the emphasis on equality is really important too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this one's huge. Right to be considered innocent until proven guilty. That is so hard for people, especially with media. People so easily jump to conclusions. Okay, I'm going to toast to right to rest and leisure because we're all having a holiday. So will you all join me in a toast to the right to education, the right to rest and leisure?
Thank you, that, yes.
Article 20, right to participate in the cultural life of the community. That's huge, and I toast to that one too. Does anyone else have a favorite?
I can share one.
All right, well, I'm going to play some of this music. I'm going to play us out here. This last song I'm going to play is it's the hip hop version where he actually does he actually reads the rights in the song. Can you hear it?
We the peoples, we the peoples, every man, woman and child. We the peoples, we the peoples, we the peoples, every man, woman and child. Every every living soul, every living soul, man, woman, and child.
We've got the right to equality, freedom from discrimination, right to life, liberty, the right to education, right to peaceful assembly and free association, free belief, religion, opinion, and information, right to marriage and family, right to property, right to asylum and freedom of nationality, right to rest, right to leisure, right to privacy, right to be considered innocent till proven guilty, right to hearing, right to vote, free from slavery, right to remedy and personal security, right to move freely in and out the country, right to participate in culture and community. All human beings are born free, equal in rights and equal in dignity. We are endowed with reason and conscience, spirit of brotherhood, sisterhood, neighborhood.
We the peoples, we the peoples, we the peoples, man, woman, and child. We the peoples, we the peoples, we the peoples, man, woman, and child. Every living soul, every living soul, every living soul, man, woman, and child. Every living soul, every living soul, every living soul, man, woman, and child. We the peoples, we the peoples, we the peoples, man, woman, and child. We the peoples, we the peoples, we the peoples, man, woman, and child. Every living soul, every living soul, every living soul, every man.
Thank you all so much for coming. Please tell your friends about this this book. We are Merrill and I on Martin Luther King Day. We're doing a teach-in. If you know anybody who is a teacher and would like to come learn more about this book and how to use it, it comes with a free download of our book. And so yeah, pass the word around about this event. And I just wanted to thank you all so much for being here and celebrating with us. And whatever you go about doing today, talk to people about the UDHR and how bringing it alive and keeping it, making it even more and more vital. Imagine where we'll be in 2048 with the guidance of this document.
2048.
Yeah, when it turns 100. Think about what you want to be doing and celebrating. Thank you, and cheers to the UDHR. All right.